Hello and welcome. Here's what's happening right now. Wildfire emergency, the expanding crisis and devastation for communities across Canada.
The risk is very, very high right now.
The hardest hit areas and the country's worsening air quality.
These current and proposed duties are unjustified.
Measuring Ottawa's new financial support beams for a struggling sector.
This was preventable.
Plus, fatal factors, what investigators blame for the Titan sub disaster.
CTV National News with Sandy Ronaldo.
I'm Heather Butts in for Sandy tonight. We begin with the devastation caused by wildfires raging across this country. Thousands of people have been forced from their homes in recent days on the west coast, in the prairies, and Atlantic Canada. In some cases, flames burning at alarming rates, swallowing structures along the way. Nova Scotia is now going to extreme measures to help lower the fire risk, while Newfoundland tries to gain the upper hand on out-of-control fires. CTV's Scott Hurst is following this for us. Walk us through the developments on the East Coast. Scott.
Heather, Newfoundland and Labrador has had close to 200 wildfires this season, scorching more than 84 square kilometers. Historic numbers according to the Premier, and now 2 fires burning in the northern Avalon Peninsula are forcing people from their homes. One fire tripled in size overnight to more than 7 square kilometers, and officials have confirmed today the growing inferno has destroyed property in its path. It's impacting an area along the western shore of Conception Bay. Another fire south of there in Holyrood has forced people from their homes as well. Fortunately, that fire did not grow overnight and is being attacked from the air and on the ground. Meanwhile, in Nova Scotia, they're taking the threat of wildfires so seriously, people are being ordered to stay out of the woods.
The risk is very, very high right now. We've had briefings from Environment Canada about the near-term forecast, and there is no significant rain in sight. This means more dryness, and it means more risk.
The Premier putting in restrictions on outdoor activities like hiking, some camping, and the use of vehicles in the woods, saying trail systems are off limits. And residents will want to take these restrictions seriously. Anyone caught breaking the rules, including the recently implemented burn ban, could find themselves $25,000 lighter in the wallet. Heather.
Scott Hurst joining us tonight. Thank you. Hundreds of people in BC have been forced from their homes on Vancouver Island. The size of that fire, now 5 square kilometers. It's burning on a ridge next to a major highway, and fire crews are hitting it hard, working 24 hours a day. CTV's BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson joins us. Andrew, we're hearing some of the most important work is being done in the dark.
Heather, helicopters equipped with night vision are being brought in overnight after the sun's gone down and humidity is up when the fire could be vulnerable. Those night vision helicopters are bucketing around the fire perimeter to slow growth. They can drop close to 4,000 liters of water at a time. That's part of a response from close to 200 firefighters trying to save homes between the towns of Qualicum Beach and Port Alberni. Nearly 400 of those homes are empty after an evacuation order.
We could see flames in the hills, like really close. I could hear the crackling, feel the heat, and we grabbed the last bit of stuff that we could and got out of there.
Vancouver Island is actually one of the driest areas in the entire country right now. You can see here in the lower left corner, extreme risk on the island and along the west. More dangerous conditions than even in Okanagan wine country and the drought-stricken northeast. Fire officials in an update today are asking the hundreds out of their homes to hang in there.
Being evacuated during a wildfire is a very scary experience, and you're putting your trust and faith in us. So please have patience and allow us to make sure that it is safe before we can make any recommendations.
The good news for people hoping to go home is this fire didn't grow much overnight. Plus, lower temperatures, increased humidity, and the possibility of rain are in the forecast. So the tide here may be turning, and not a moment too soon for people on Vancouver Island. Heather.
BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson in Vancouver. To Manitoba now, where a First Nation had to scramble this weekend to evacuate more than 4,000 people from the community near Thompson, threatened by fire blocking road access. Many fled, leaving everything behind. CTV's Alex Carpa has been speaking with evacuees. A terrifying experience for them. Alex, what are you hearing?
Heather, there's a lot of fear, anxiety, and frustration amongst some of the evacuees that I have been speaking to. Many have been forced to leave their belongings behind in the community, with some coming to Winnipeg with only the clothes on their backs. A massive plume of smoke seen near Nisitchawayasik Cree Nation in northern Manitoba. A mandatory evacuation order came in over the weekend as a nearby out-of-control wildfire is now threatening to shut down the only access road in and out of the community. Felicia Wetman arrived in Winnipeg late Sunday night, marking the second time this summer she was forced to leave her home.
That is very frustrating. Oh my God, I can't believe it. We just missed home so much. And then again, we weren't even home for a week. Only a week and a half, and then we get sent out again.
Susan Wood was also forced to flee south with her family. She says it's been a very stressful last 24 hours.
It's scary, especially for our little ones. They're all over the place. I have 8 grandchildren. I have to keep them all together at all times.
With little to no hotel rooms left available in Winnipeg, the thousands of evacuees from Nisitchawayasik will most likely have to stay at congregate shelters throughout the city, which both Wetman and Wood say is very uncomfortable. Heather.
Alex Carpa in Winnipeg. The fires may not be directly in your community, but there's a good chance you're being impacted by smoke from the flames. Air quality across the country, a concern for many this summer, causing reduced visibility and health risks. CTV's Beth McDonnell takes a look at the air quality today in Ontario.
In Toronto, the harsh orange sun is a sure sign of the heavy smoke hovering in the sky. It's been a punishing series of days which blew in so much smoke it created some of the worst air quality in the world.
My eyes, yes. I see my eyes getting red and stuff, yes.
It's not very good for like picnic, to be honest. It's very harsh.
Conditions have cleared now somewhat and are forecast to improve over the next 2 days. Still, dozens of wildfires are burning across the country. This is a look at the hot spots. Each dot can be one or more fires. Many of them sending smoke to southern Ontario, creating a blanket of haze, causing some to take precautions.
We avoid being outside for too long and do stuff in the morning and the evening when it's not so bad.
Environment Canada lifted its special air quality statement that was in effect over the long weekend. Even though the smoky air was considered high risk, some were hesitant to stay indoors.
I just love being outdoors. Actually, it's not that bad. I know everyone talks about it, but I think if you're in good shape and you're responsible, you can handle it.
This hasn't stopped me from doing anything at this point. Yeah, obviously it's concerning, and yeah, we prefer air quality to be better and there be no forest fires.
The agency says people with heart and lung conditions are most at risk, along with seniors, people who are pregnant, and infants.
Definitely minimizing our time outside, especially activities that are really intense. We need to reschedule activities for those who are especially at risk, like children who are mandated to be outdoors. We need to be protecting them.
Federal officials say the 2025 wildfire season is already one of the worst on record and expect a high risk for more fires to break out in August. Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
With the trade deal with the United States still elusive, Prime Minister Mark Carney unveiled new measures today to help the softwood lumber sector struggling under U.S. tariffs. The sector employs nearly 200,000 Canadians and contributes more than $20 billion to the GDP. CTV's Rachel Aiello joins us now with more on Carney's message for the industry. Rachel.
Heather, Mark Carney's promised new supports for the Canadian softwood lumber industry are the latest in a series of announcements he's making this summer in an effort to strengthen key sectors that are being hit hard by U.S. tariffs. Unveiling new measures to snap the Canadian softwood sector's U.S. market dependence, today Prime Minister Mark Carney promised new loan guarantees and grants to help keep lumber companies afloat, accelerate product development, diversify markets, and fund retraining efforts.
We cannot count or fully rely on what has been our most valued trading relationship for our prosperity.
The move comes after the U.S. raised duties last month, prompting calls to make resolving the dispute a priority in the broader trade talks. Talks that Carney said today are continuing, despite U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff escalation last week.
I haven't spoken to the president in recent days. We'll speak when it makes sense.
Mark Carney has to deliver.
While polls show Canadians appear willing to give Carney more time, pressure is increasing as they watch Trump make deals with other countries.
Canadians are increasingly worried about Trump and the state of the trade negotiations. Concern on that front has been increasing over the last number of weeks.
Today, as both countries work towards a new North American trade pact, two of Carney's top ministers are in Mexico, talking to officials about how they secured a 90-day pause on higher tariffs.
Perhaps we can also learn something from their approach. They took a much more measured and perhaps low-key approach, and it seemed to work for them.
All of this coming the same day that new federal data shows Canada's merchandise trade deficit has widened to the second highest on record since April's historic dip. Heather?
Rachel, thank you. U.S. Ambassador to Canada Pete Hookstra just spoke to CTV News for his take on where trade negotiations stand. CTV's Mike LeCouture did that interview and joins us now with the details. So, Mike, tell us, what did you learn today?
Yeah, it's just interesting, Heather, because he said that a deal with Canada is a priority, but he doesn't really see it happening anytime soon. He compared these negotiations to essentially having puzzle pieces on a table that could easily fit together, but right now, the American side doesn't see how that is going to happen. He also mentioned how Mexico did pause their retaliatory tariffs on the U.S., and that earned them a 90-day reprieve to try and hammer out a deal. And there's two countries that didn't pause theirs. That's Canada and China. And it seems really clear right now that the U.S. is trying to focus on a deal with the world's second largest economy.
It's going to take a while to work through it. There's a lot of issues that are still on the table. And, you know, I think the next few weeks are going to kind of be slow. But, you know, the president's got some other priorities. They want to get a deal done with China. And so, but, you know, as soon as there's, you know, offers on the table, ready to move forward, you know, we'll want to get to a deal.
Now, Heather, we are told that the minister in charge of trade with the United States, Dominic LeBlanc, well, he was in D.C. last week for a number of meetings. We're also told that he is now back in New Brunswick. He does plan to have another conversation with Howard Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce, later this week, and he's hoping to meet him again later in the month. Heather?
CTV's Mike LeCouture in Ottawa. Thanks, Mike. Air Canada flight attendants have voted overwhelmingly in favor of strike action. The union, representing more than 10,000 workers, says 99.7% are in favor of a strike if necessary. It comes after contract talks with the airline ended without a deal. Having taken the vote, the union says it could be on strike as early as August 16th. Coming up, a new plot twist in the Epstein saga.
Basically, Congress taking the driver's seat and saying that we are going to demand these files.
What a subpoena could reveal, including sealed transcripts. According to Israeli media reports, the country's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is pushing for the full occupation of Gaza, despite opposition from within the Israeli Defense Forces. Several ministers say Netanyahu used the term occupation during private conversations as he tried to rally support for the move. Senior officials were quoted as saying the military operations would even take place in areas where hostages are believed to be held. The IDF's chief reportedly disagrees with the plan, and a cabinet vote on the idea was reportedly postponed. New video reveals the dangerous scramble for aid when an airdropped package lands in Gaza. The footage shows hundreds of Palestinians rushing to collect whatever they can. Infighting often breaks out around the packages of aid. One piece of video shows two men wrestling over a package, one holding a knife. UN aid agencies have called the airdrops a last resort and are calling on Israel to allow more access to people in need inside Gaza. As the Jeffrey Epstein scandal continues to hang over Donald Trump, the U.S. Justice Department added another twist today. It announced that it has an audio recording of its interview with Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell last month, and that it's considering releasing a transcript. CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbon joins us now. Joy, the administration has been facing pressure to be more transparent. How likely is it that we'll see this transcript?
Heather, the White House is under really serious pressure, and they are considering releasing that audio, about 10 hours worth, or the transcripts, or both. Sensitive details like victims' names would have to be redacted. Maxwell was interviewed by Trump's former personal lawyer last month, and she's serving 20 years for sex trafficking young girls for Jeffrey Epstein. Now, she's appealing her sentence, but last week she was suddenly transferred to a lower security prison. Many of the survivors fear that a presidential pardon could actually be in the works. Here's lawyer Eric Lerner.
My client extended an invite actually to President Trump to meet with her and other survivors so he can witness firsthand the pain and suffering that she and they have endured before considering a pardon.
Heather, the president has not responded to that request. In the meantime, a Republican-led congressional committee issued nearly a dozen subpoenas to high-profile political figures like Bill and Hillary Clinton to testify about what they know about Epstein, and for the Justice Department to turn over all unredacted Epstein files by August 19th. Heather?
Our Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbon. Thanks, Joy. At least 4 people are dead and many more are missing after a mudslide surged through a village in India.
This particular village, the complete mid portion of the village has got swept out.
Floodwaters and mud crashed through homes, swept away roads and destroyed businesses. Indian authorities have requested helicopters in the desperate search for people buried by debris. Officials haven't provided a figure on how many people could be trapped. The local forecast suggests more heavy rain is on the way. Still ahead, a preventable tragedy. What a final report reveals about the deadly Titan sub implosion. Some chaotic video from inside a passenger plane captured the moments after a bird strike forced an emergency landing. A passenger took this video as people on board the plane began putting on oxygen masks as smoke entered the cabin. Video shared on social media shows the nose of the plane missing. The bird strike happened minutes after takeoff on a flight from Madrid to Paris over the weekend. The Titan submersible disaster that killed 5 people more than 2 years ago could have been prevented. That was the finding of a new U.S. Coast Guard report released today. CTV's John Benavale-Rao now on the findings, including the problems with the company and its controversial CEO.
What happened to the Titan submersible and the loss of everyone on board, including a teenager, was examined extensively by the U.S. Coast Guard. And with the release of a more than 300-page report, an investigative board finding what many have long believed, that this marine casualty and the loss of 5 lives was preventable.
I'm mad because it happened, and I'm sad that all these people lost their lives. And that's why, to me, it should have never happened. It shouldn't have been allowed to happen.
The report placing blame on OceanGate, the American company behind the experimental sub, run by CEO Stockton Rush, who perished in the implosion. It cites inadequate design, certification, maintenance, and inspection processes for the Titan, adding there was a toxic workplace culture. Some who expressed safety concerns were fired or threatened with dismissal.
To start operations, was there pressure?
Oh, 100%.
The report finding the submersible was used despite several prior incidents involving its carbon fiber hull, adding OceanGate was able to operate Titan completely outside the established deep-sea protocols. The Titan had been on a dive off Newfoundland carrying passengers who paid up to $250,000 to see the wreck of the Titanic when the submersible imploded.
The good news is they would have been killed instantly, so they wouldn't have suffered. But they shouldn't have been killed in the first place. This was preventable.
In a statement, OceanGate, which is no longer operating, said we again offer our deepest condolences to the families of those who died and to all those impacted by the tragedy. The report also notes if CEO Stockton Rush had survived, criminal charges against him would have been considered. Heather.
John Valley Rao in Toronto. Thanks. A fire broke out on a fireworks barge in Japan, creating a spectacular and dangerous display of explosions. 5 workers on the vessel jumped into the water and were rescued. 1 was treated for minor injuries. A fireworks display was scheduled for later that night, but was canceled after the explosions. After the break, stealing the spotlight at center court. Meet the Canadian team tennis sensation serving up the competition. Toronto tennis star Victoria Mboko is continuing her impressive run at the National Bank Open. The 18-year-old will play in the semifinals tomorrow night after a quarterfinal victory last night. CTV's Alison Hurst sets up the exciting moment in the young athlete's career.
What a great rally!
As Victoria Mboko reaches the semi-finals in the National Bank Open in Montreal, young tennis fans are watching.
Yeah, it makes me feel pride for like someone who came near this area actually got to a really high level at this young age, and it kind of motivates me.
Samuel Liu says he watches with his dad.
I think that's amazing, and it inspires my dad too, because my dad also plays a lot of tennis.
18-year-old Mboko has booked her ticket to the semifinals at the National Bank Open following a stunning defeat of top seed Coco Gauff and another dominant performance in the quarters.
Wow, what a story that is unfolding in Montreal with 18-year-old Victoria Mboko. Take this in for a moment. A year ago, Mboko was ranked outside the top 300. Yes, top 300 in the WTA rankings. And now she's cracked the top 50 by advancing to the semifinals at the National Bank Open, her home tournament. Just a remarkable result and dream run, really, for the 18-year-old. A real star on the rise in Canadian tennis.
Mboko is the first Canadian to reach the semi since 2019 when Bianca Andreescu won the tournament.
I need you guys to get into partners, please.
Nike Tennis Camp coaches like Cameron Bentley are using her success and lessons from the court to inspire his campers.
You may win the first set, you still got to win the second one. So, yeah, just, enjoy it, I guess. I'm sure she enjoyed it.
Mboko's next match is tomorrow.
An inspiration to many. That was Alison Hurst reporting for us this evening. That's our newscast. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Heather Butts. Your local CTV News starts right now.